Okay, in this class, we will be talking about how to finance and how to do a break-even for your business. So we will start with chapter 8, and it's about basically from the opportunity. Chapter 8 is the marketing plan, because we said that we're gonna talk about how you would do your next assignment. And it's about a marketing plan, which is part of the one of the plans, major plan to do for entrepreneurship. So in this chapter, we will be talk about the sections completed on. It is industry analysis, and this section is completed prior to preparing a marketing plan. So you need to do this part is before you do a marketing plan. So you do the primary focus on the industry analysis. You do your, in a way, marketing research to provide a knowledge of the environment that can affect the marketing strategy decision. Who you're gonna, for example, if you want to go to the restaurant business and you think you will be opening a restaurant, now you have a market for it, but you need to target who you're gonna target, and you do all the process of marketing research and marketing strategy of how you're gonna make this marketing plan. You do some kind of a competitive analysis, being with documenting the current strategy for each primary competitors, how they are doing, what they are doing. You do probably a mystery visit to find out how they do that. Use a search engine, a library database, if there is a, and check on the competition, social media, how they're working. Now, the second part that you need to work on it is the fact that that once the strategy is summarized, identify the strength and the weakness of each competitor. So you need to put a, as side saying, okay, these are my competitors, where is their weakness, where is the strength, and eventually you can drive something that will indicate how you're going to compete with these people. And all this information is used to formulate the market positioning strategy. So you don't want, as an entrepreneur, you don't want to just be like the next Joe shop. You just want to make sure you are different, so the customers, when they're passing, they will come to see you instead of looking at any one of you. So once is this done, and you did all of this information and formulate the market positioning strategy, you can start your new venture. So here, where you do a marketing research, usually you need to do data to answer the following. Who will buy your product, which is it's part of the marketing research. What size is the potential your market? And that will help you to do a break even, whether you're going to go for it in the first step or not. The second, how it's going to help you to to do other marketing. What is the most appropriate distribution strategy? Are you doing a restaurant? Where is the location of the restaurant? If you're doing, selling a service or a product, which as we spoke about it last week, who's going to be distributing your product? Are you going to, have it on a shelf or something like that? What's the price you should charge? And that you can after you check in the market, the competition, competitors, then you will find out what's the price you should charge. Uh, so you want to make sure that your product is in the same categories that your price it is the competition, some of the competition have. What's the most effective way of making a promotion strategy? You notice that some people will, um, do a testing if you're there for food. Some people will be doing a discount price. Some people will be or doing an ads on online, something like that. So it is there where you, after you go these first four questions, you can come up with your fifth question. So the first thing, who will be buying your product? What size of potential market there? What is the most appropriate distribution, and what's the price you should pay? And driven from all these, then you can really set up your effective promotion strategy. So the entrepreneur may conduct a research or hire someone to do all these things for him. Um, so when you defining the purpose and the objective, the most effective way to begin is probably the most effective way to begin in the marketing plan is to make the list of information you need to prepare for a marketing plan. So you get what kind of information you are looking for. Determine what people think of the product or service, and they would buy it. So it doesn't have to be your product. You just want to see why the people are buying that product in X or Y or Z. And if you're going to produce same type, you need to know why they're buying it. So that will help you how to promote it. Determine how much customer would be willing to pay for the product or service. Keep in mind, when we have something or we produce something, we have a tendency of overpricing it, because not the overprice itself, it is because we feel so much proud of that, or we feel it belongs to us. So this is, we have a tendency of overpricing it. That doesn't mean it's acceptable for a customer. You notice that if you go and buy a car from someone and he's overpricing it because he likes that car, and that doesn't mean that you're willing to pay that much money for that car. So determining how much customer would be willing to pay for the product or service is, once again, you can also see it from the competition. Um, Determine where the customer would prefer to purchase the product or service. So it is important that if you notice, if you go to Walmart, there is some products are on a front shelf, some of them are back shelf, some on the top, bottom. They're all makes differences of who would buy what, and are they going to seek to get that, or they are looking for the first product that provide the same satisfaction or same level. Um, Determine where the customer would expect to hear about such a product. So for your marketing, where they would like to hear it. If, for example, it could be online, or they could be you sending it as a mail, or you have somebody announce it there. So these are very important to do in a marketing plan. Now, gathering data is it could be, we said it could be from primary resources or the secondary resources. Most of the time we do secondary resources because cheap, available, and easy to get. But we can drive our primary data from secondary data, or we can do our primary sources and do the observation in the simplest form. As some of you guys are with me in a marketing research class where we go more on details on doing a primary or the secondary data. And here you probably need to hire somebody or do more research of how you collect the secondary or the primary data. You cannot start a marketing plan without having a primary and secondary data and driven hypothesis and theory from that to understand who you are in a market. Now, then when you collect this information, can enter the result on a computer or tablet. If you're looking for an investor, it's very important for him to see this primary and data and driven information from these primary data and establishing in the beginning hypothesis, and you ending up with a theory where this investors need to see that to understand whether this is a valuable proposition. So you need to summarize the answers to questions, may give a preliminary insight. Data can be cross-tabulated to provide more focused result. So you can, the data you have, you can drive more information, more focused information from, this information. You can build your own web survey. There's lots of web survey tools that you can use that you can drive these data from. Now, continue fine-tuning can provide insight, particular. The more you dig in, the more you find out information, the stronger as an entrepreneur that you can succeed in it. Lots of entrepreneurs did not collect enough data, so they didn't know. Then they face problems, and it could be very detrimental, issues. So the more information you do, the easier for you to build your marketing campaign, the easier that you can drive your sales, and the sales is the main thing for entrepreneur to survive. Now, as we said, on the next class, I'm looking for a marketing plan. And here's the difference between a marketing plan and a business plan.
Sir?
Yes.
Like today we have quiz also?
No, we don't.
Only we have chapters?
Yes.
But last week you were saying that we were having like quiz assignment today.
No, we will push the quiz on the next class because.
Okay. So today you are only like chapters.
We'll talk, chapters, and we'll talk about your coming assignments. And I will be mailing all the information for you as I do usually.
So these slides are uploaded on e-learning too?
I'm sorry?
These slides are uploaded on e-learning?
These will be uploaded soon.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir.
I don't change my style because I don't confuse you.
So that's a good thing for you.
So it is. This is the way because this is good for everybody also.
Yeah, that's why you are our favorite.
Thank you.
I don't know about others, but you are my favorite.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay,
so,
sir.
Okay. So here is the. Thank you for a good comment. Here is the the difference between the business plan and the marketing plan. You see, business plan probably is that what you're going to submit as a group project, and it's on a week 13. The marketing plan is that's what I'm looking for you do as an individual one, and it's about focus on marketing activities, usually for 1 year. Business plan is a roadmap for entire organization over time. Now, in a marketing plan, you do various by industries, target market, firm size, and the scope. You do integral to the business plan, but stands alone. Need to short-term management. on a business plan, as we said, is a long-term entire organization. That's when this is on the week 13. Foresee on a marketing, but also other facts, and should be regularly updated and help assessment. So I think here there is two separate things, because what we did last week, it was the assignment about the venture itself, not a business plan. Make Why would people buy this? Next week we will be your assignment will be the marketing campaign. You might be using the same old assignment and put a marketing campaign for that. So it makes it probably easier for you to continue on the previous assignment. And the last assignment, it would be the group assignment. So these are three different plans that any entrepreneur need to build. Understanding the marketing plan establish how the entrepreneur will compete and operate in the marketplace. And after establishing the marketing plan strategy, the cost will be assigned to each strategy, because once you want a campaign with a minimum cost for it, because uh, marketing is usually a cost center, is not revenue generating. Sales is revenue generating. Service is a revenue generating center. So you wanted to make sure that cost of your marketing is very low, but how are you going to make it as low as possible if you are targeting the right people, the right segment? And to do that is that you have to segment the market and find who's the right people that you're going to market to them. The marketing plan should answer three basic questions: where we have been, or have we been? So what we used to do. If it's a startup, then there is nothing to do. Where do we want to go in the short term? So within a year, what's my goal? I want to sell 100 hamburgers a day. If that's your short term, or 500, units of games this year. So that's your short term. And then you say, how are we going to get there? Is it through your marketing plan, to how I'm going to target this and how I'm deliver this? These are the important steps to have a successful entrepreneur. The marketing plan should be a guide for implementing marketing decision, not a generalized superficial document. In a way, because marketing, as I said, it costs, and you need to, as an entrepreneur, minimize your cost. So you need to be effective. You don't need to cut on your marketing plan. You need to have an effective marketing plan where they can generate your target and where you're going to get in. And especially the first 2 years, any entrepreneur, the problem mostly is failing because the cash flow is not how much you own money outside pending, is the cash flow that's important for you. And cash flow is generated from your sales and generated from and the sales generated caused by a marketing plan. So all kind of connected to each other. Now, a characteristic of marketing plan is provide a strategy, provide a strategy to accomplish the mission. It's based on a fact and valid assumption. So once you do a marketing research, you want to make sure that you have a valid assumption. And the valid assumption is driven from a real fact, or real fact, the same word, a fact that in the market. Describe the organization implementation plan, provide the continuities, is simple and short, yet is a flexible. So it has some flexibility in it, and specific performance criteria that can monitor and control. Now, the marketing system must first be understood. So as we said, you need to do a marketing research and be aware of the external and internal variables, the threats of the market, the effect of, these are all have to be understood. And then you try to put the 4 Ps or the product price here, instead of places, they put distribution. So product price, and distribution and promotion. Um, Once you put all these together, then you can take a decision how you do the market plan. And then after the implementation of marketing plan, the plan should provide you a feedback how on how effective is your plan. Is it generating sales for you? Is it helping to generate sales for you? Otherwise, you need to readjust to it. So we have a tendency of, when we have a low sales, we blame it on the salespeople or the reason for the sales. Sometimes, and mostly, it could be something that you don't see it, is because of the bad marketing campaign that you have, or you're targeting the wrong people. And that could be done through the right marketing research. When you do a right marketing research based on the real and fact information, then you will have a good marketing plan based on the right marketing research. And then you eventually, this will help you to drive the right sale. So they're connected to each other, but any one of these fails will eventually fail in the sales. So it might be not the reason the bad salesperson, it could be bad campaigning, bad marketeer, bad business development. Anything of these might show up and might reduce the chance of making sales. Now, when you do a preparing for the marketing plan, the first thing you do is define the business situation. You do a situation analysis review where the company has been, as we said, and consider the fact that define the environment and industrial situation. So if you look at, there is lots of defective goods from the competitors, how are you going to build something that makes it better? Yeah. It is the same thing that probably this approach, mostly Japanese use it. They look at the new invented products in cars or in TVs, and they see the defective part, and then they fix the defective part, and they come up with the new products, which is, it looks very superior to others, but they did not invent that thing. So there is this is one of the way of doing an entrepreneurship. The other thing is probably you need to look, the products, how it's going to compete in the market. Define your target. What is the opportunity? What is the threat? There should be a good idea of who the target, the market, who is your target. You cannot just open it to whole Canada or the whole GTA. You cannot really target everybody. You need to focus on your target, and that's what you call a market segmentation. Divide the market into groups and say, okay, I'm targeting these people. If I'm doing well, then I might go with a bigger plan and a bigger and bigger, or targeting this and then this and then this. So you need to evaluate who the group is that you are targeting. And to segment and target customer, decide what the general market and industry you wish to, to approach. Say, I want to approach the Indian cuisine. So you are probably targeting people with an Indian background, or people originally just came from India, or white people who likes Indian food. These are different segments. Now, divide the market based on the customer characteristic or buying situation. So if you're targeting the white people who have a high income or low income, it doesn't matter. You need to clarify who you are targeting, people, what kind of people you're going to target. And then between all these things, segmenting, after you select your segment or target in it. You cannot just open it up to everybody, especially in the first 2-3 years when you're trying to stand on your feet. And the last thing is that you need to do is develop, according to that, a marketing plan, integrating the parts of the marketing mix. So you put the price, product, promotion, all these things in integrating with your business plan. So once you clear everything in the beginning, who is your target, what you are trying to sell, service or product, who you're segmenting, you segmented right, you did your marketing research, you came up with a knowledge, and then you built your marketing campaign properly to minimize your cost, maximize your effectiveness in order to drive up the sales. And driving up the sales will generate revenue and income for you. Now, so establishing a goals and objective, the entrepreneur must establish a realistic and specific marketing and goal and objective. And it is important to have an investors willing to invest with you, whether their time or their money or whatever. If you're not establishing a realistic and specific marketing goals and objective, entrepreneur will be hesitant to work with you. These answers the question. I'm sorry, the investors will be hesitant to work with you. These answers the question, where do we want to go? Goals should specify such things as a market share, how much I'm going to make, how much profit is that, what's the percentage of profit, what's the sale, what's the cost of goods sold. All these things has to be calculated. There is a variable cost, there is a fixed cost. All these needs to look at them and be very clear about it. Not all the goals and objective is quantifiable. So some of stuff you cannot do a quantity, it's not quantifiable, and that's where you do a qualitative research, such as researching customer attitude or improving the package. These are not quantifiable, but it's a qualitative research. Limit the number of goals to between 6 or to 8. Too many goals you build there, you're going to be hard to control. You're going to need lots of resources. It's very difficult to monitor. So you say, okay, I'm targeting this segment. Whatever comes from other segments is fine, but my goal is really targeting this segment. Now, then later on, maybe if you notice that the other segments start coming more than this segment, you probably did not do your research pretty well. So you can do some adjustment to it. Hopefully, you are targeting the right segment eventually. Now, you need to define the market strategy, as we said, and action program. So what's your strategy? How you're going to do your marketing research, and then how you drive you built your hypothesis, which is hypothesis as a theory that's not approved. There's no research being done. And then you do your marketing research, you find out the facts, the percentage, everything, and then you build your theory. So now a theory, which is a marketing and action decision, answer the question, how would I get there? And reflect. And to get there is that you need to look at the 4 things, as we said, the marketing mix. So the product or the service, the pricing, you need to look at it, the distribution and the promotion. And we said the product or service that you describe the tangible and intangible characteristic of that. It could be somebody is buying just to feel good, somebody is buying to feel satisfied, somebody is buying because it's needed. It need to be, the more clear you are on your marketing campaign, who you are targeting, what trying to show, the more you can understand your business. Um, Pricing, as we said, sometimes you go to someone who tried to sell his car, but he likes his car, so he's way overpricing it. That doesn't mean people will buy it. So we have a tendency when we providing a service or a product, we over appreciate it. The other side is usually underappreciated. So you need to find a middle ground, and that can be done through doing some mysterious shopping, going around and see, okay, this is the price and this is my cost. You might be able to overprice it because the competition way overpriced their product. So you need to be clear on the the cost of the unit, how much it costs you, and industry standard markup, how much they mark up the price, and what's your desire of making a profit. So if you're making a 10% or 20 or 30, so that's another thing that you are looking for. Um, a unique benefit allow the higher price by than competitors. Now, when you are doing a markup, you should take a consideration in something. You say if it's a different when I say I want to make a $10 per unit profit, then I want to make it 10%. A 10% is usually whatever the price comes in, I mark it up by 10%. It's 1.1, 10%. But if I'm saying $10, it doesn't matter how much is cost of product, I'm going to add $10 to it. But when you do a percentage, once the price goes up, this thing also goes up a percentage-wise. So these are two different things. The good example during when they um, introduced the GST, the PST, provincial tax, and GST tax, the other side said, well, the GST stands for 14%, or NPST, for example, in Manitoba. Now, they supposed to, it's on the final good and process, but what they did by mistake, they put this GST and PST on each level of sub-producing, and everybody started increasing 14%, and eventually the government got so much cash without the right calculation. So when they said on a final good, but they did put it on the middle good, and as a supplier, as you are a supplier, there's some customer, and that customer could be a supplier to other customer, and that customer could be a supplier, and each one that was putting 14%. So that kept the prices. Suddenly they had so much cash during Brian Mulroney's time because they didn't do the right call. But the more money the government gets, the happier they are. So they can spend a lot. So the pricing is, you need to look at it, is the total cost and the profit margin, the duration, distribution, provided you see where you can, establish your market, how you're going to sell it, who's going to distribute it for you, whether you are distributing it, and then the promotion informs customer about the product. So these are the process that you need to look at it before you really establish an entrepreneur plan. As we said, it's marketing strategy. It's B2C is a different than B2B. Business to business is a different, consumer to business. Marketing strategy decision for consumer product varies the decision on from the business to business. So you need to take this into consideration. Consumer product involve the sales to the household for the personal consumption. Yet B2B, and we brought the example of how it's a marketing involved a more direct channels of distribution. And when you're selling to a customer directly, you're already collecting your money. He's paying you and you collect this product. But when you're doing B2B, there is one thing that you need to take into consideration, that maybe the buyer is buying a lot, but not paying you on, on the spot. Maybe it takes 3 months or a year. So you also need to look at how you're going to finance that waiting period. The marketing mix for both market is the same, but the technique strategy is significant change. How you're gonna do a promotion is more to a trade magazine, direct sales, and trade show. That's B2B. Consumers is that you open a store and you do selling directly. So these are two different things. Um, you might doing less, uh, you know, marketing activities and more focus to when it's a B2B, something like that. Now, as we said, you need to budget budgeting the marketing strategy. A planning decision must consider the costs involved in, you know, involved in implementing those decisions. First, you need to consider a reasonable budget for a percentage forecast. Um, so you say, I'm going to put 15% of my revenue in doing your marketing. But what if you don't have a revenue, just started your business? So you need to put a budget for that. This budget should be communicated with the investors and with you. So you need to know what's the cost is coming for you. Next, provide a breakdown of marketing costs and how the cost will be divided, whether how much I'm going to do flyers, how much I'm going to do flags, how much I'm going to spend on internet. So these are very important that you do a breakdown of marketing costs. And finally, review each cost and the effectiveness. Because if you're saying, I'm going to do a marketing, and you find that you're making flyers, but you're not making that much profit. If you're not, and you're making better revenue doing marketing on online, if you all not doing any breakup for these costs, breakdown of the cost, then you would not know which one is more effective and where you put your cost dollar in the marketing. So you need to make sure how much you spend on each tool that you're going to do a marketing for, utilize it for marketing versus how much revenue you are generating. And one of the things that they do, you notice that when you um, apply for something or try to buy something, they will ask you, how did you hear about us? How did you meet us? Because they want to do understand the breakdown of the marketing costs and the expenses. This budgeting will help you in preparing the whole financial plan, where it would be credential for the investors or bank who's going to give you the loan on all these things. Now, implementing and marketing plan, that's another stage. Sometimes you write a good marketing plan, but you're not implementing it properly. Or while you're implementing, things change and you're not monitoring it and you keep doing the same thing, and might be less and becomes less and less effective. As an example, for example, the flyers. These days, lots of people try not to touch paper because they might be carrying a virus. So now, if you keep doing flyers, might be less effective than if you're doing online advertisement in your in certain product or certain thing. So that could be one of the options. Now, a commitment, uh, the plan is to be commitment to specify specific strategy. So a commitment to make a need adjustment is also available. Someone should be assigned the responsibility for coordinating and implementing this plan. Monitoring the plan, as we said, it involves tracking a specific result. So is flyers is doing, generating more income, better effective marketing, or internet. So these things that you need to look, and the entrepreneur must be prepared for a contingency plan, adjustment plan to do. Now, When it's come to the social media, and that probably would be a last slide, we'll be talking about it. Any strategy, before we take a break, any strategy involved in to use the social media should be planned and considered part of the promotional effort, because you're going to put time, and this timing, it might be some costing involved in it, but most of the cost is time. So the first thing, the first step you need to do is really to identify the target market and determine what social media platform they prefer. You know, if I say Facebook, everybody will say yes, but that doesn't mean people who is in Facebook are your target. If you're trying to sell, for example, um, certain perfect food, certain cuisine, there was other social medias that you can use, because people on the Facebook is not there to look at the food. They are there to, communicate, maybe to do something else to do. So, uh, segmenting each social media is very important to know who is your people who is on that social media. And he could be on a different thing, but when he's going to Facebook, he wants to talk to his friend. He doesn't want to see your food. But if he's on other social media, for example, let's assume that there is so many of them in the market. Probably, I don't know. You might be looking at. I don't see like a you need to do your studies regard of different type of social media. So Yelp, for example, it could be a good tool. The Twitters may be a tool that you can target. All these type of social medias, or Shopify, Amazon. It depends on your product that you are looking at. Uh, then you do the effective social media plans. Start with the company website, post information on a regular base, address the negative. You need to build. There's a, when you go to Google, the first thing they offer you, can you get contacts? We will put you on a click per pay. You're always going to be on the top. These are good, but you always can do them by working more often on your website, on your announcement. Google would love to see that you are very active on your website and people are visiting you more often. So if they're visiting you more often, Google eventually will take you on the top of first page. So you need to post information on a regular basis. All these process. Make sure that you increase your authority. You show the people who wants to come and take your service or take your food, you know what you're doing. And then assess and analyze the effectiveness of the plan. Most of plan have reporting tools that you can look at them. Uh, the pitfall of social media requires a cultivation of relationship, which takes some time. So if you're doing an organic growth within the social media, it takes some time, but really people who is coming there, will be active as long as you are active there, and they will be loyal more. You can also buy from the social media a group, but they are the fake ones. Some of them, 10% of them maybe becomes active at yours. Avoid using all posts for promoting your brand. Um, as we said, you need to establish your authority, not always, this is my food, this is my food, this is my food, that people will probably get tired of that. They're not going to look at it. And it's easy to avoid setting the goal for the social media. So you want to make sure that before you start the social media plan and campaign, you need to set a short term and a long term. You need to build that. Okay, so here where we finish this chapter, and probably we need to take, let's say, we'll be back at we will be back, say, at 4:45. Okay, we're back again, and I hope you had a good break. This is my second class, and a little bit then gets a little bit tiring, but that's okay. Okay, so we will do next chapter, which is chapter 9, and if we have time, then we can talk about the more about the coming assignment. Otherwise, I will be publishing it and sending you emails and all these things. So here what we spoke earlier about the marketing and the marketing plan and why the marketing plan is important. But part of the business plan that you're going to do is really you need to set up the organizational plan, how the breakdown would work, who's going to make the decision, especially if it's 3-4 people will be involved at least and more. Then you need to delegate work because things will get heavier and hard to it's not one man show. So it would be part of your business plan will be the organizational plan that you're going to build on it. And in the organization plan, you usually try to develop the management team who is in charge of what. And it's very important because when you do a business plan, you need to delegate works because the potential investors are interested in the management team, its ability and their commitment for the new venture. So he's not interested only in the entrepreneur person. He's interested to know whether this work can be sustainable, and if it expands or there is increase in the activity, who is going to be in charge of getting what and on time, the cost and the accounting, the sales, the marketing, the date, the operation. All these things needs to be part of your plan. Investors usually look for teams that operate the business full time. Investors perceive that an entrepreneur taking a large salary, if you say, okay, I'm going to make $10,000 as expenses every month as a startup, and they will see that this person doesn't, no commitment from him, and probably is not interested to build a business, is more interested to make money. So the entrepreneur should consider the role, less income as a startup, more percentage, and that will give the investors more feeling of that you are willing to put work in the business. Then the entrepreneur should consider the role of the board in supporting the management, of the new ventures. Who's going to be on the board? And always there will be people who is specialized in certain things to be in on the board. Now, there is legal forms for doing a business. When you try to open an account, the first thing they want to see that what's the legal forms that you are doing as a business. Now, each uh, proprietorship, or are you doing a partnership or a corporation? Now, in USA, they call it S corporation, C corporation. Here we have a corporation, which is limited liability company. We will talk about each one separately because this would make, big difference in how you start your plan, your business. The entrepreneur should evaluate the pros and cons of each the legal form prior to submitting his business plan. You want to maximize the profit, minimizing the risk, minimizing the cost. So you need to look at what kind of company you're going to establish. The entrepreneur should determine the priority of several factors, as including the tax factor, the liabilities, the share selling, all these things. You don't want to have um, a partner sign in that you like, and if he say sells his shares to somebody that is less understanding of your business comes in suddenly and try to tell you how to run the business. You want to make sure that when your partner passed away, dies, or or get old, his children, if they're taking over, are they the ones who are able to run the business? Most of the family business, dies, goes away by dying the father. I've just found out, a friend of mine, um, her father had a big farm, pig farm business, and was doing very well. And he has three boys and a girl. Two of them were working with him in the farm. And once he got into an accident in 1999 or something like that, um, all his children walked away. So he had to sell his, farm, which was worth of $4 or $5 million at that time, because nobody was running it. So these things that you need to take into consideration when you're building your business plan. What's the legal form? What's the pros and cons? And how you mitigate the risk of that. Now, the ownership and the owner liabilities is a total a course itself, but we try to summarize it here and give you what you need as a part of your business plan for entrepreneur. Now, in a prior proprietorship, the owner is full responsible, and that means that um, if he make profit, it's becomes a personal income, and if he makes loss or goes bankruptcy, the government will take over his business and whatever he has as a personal thing. And this is lots of entrepreneurs start this type of businesses because it's easy to establish, easy to start, and it's good for the beginning because it costs less. Um, in the partnership, the owners may be general partner or a limited partner, and usually is a limited partner. That means if you are two people and you lost that business, they would not go to your personal things to, if you file bankruptcy to take money from your personal thing. They will go only on the company and start to, legally, they have to pay for it. Now, there is a certain percentage that you can agree on it in the beginning where to make, pay the debts that you have. On the other hand, a corporation is totally separate entities from the owners. And the corporations is basically you can, uh, you know, uh, protect yourself, protect your income, whatever you have as a personal from the corporation. It's two separate things. and there, but it's a little bit difficult to establish in the beginning. Lots of legal things, and you need to have a lawyer and an accountant to do that for you. But usually, once you go big, and you can sell share when you go public. So it is the three different levels, and each one has positive things and negative things. So as an entrepreneur, you need to look at the positive and negative and see which one you want to do first. Startup with you might not. Investors might asking you to get his shares, so they might want to be as a partner, silent partner, minor partner, shareholders. Their role makes different, or they want to be a part of the corporation. So whether you want to later on go public or not. So these are all makes pros and cons for these to make a decision. Now, startup costs and continuity of the business for proprietorship, startup costs, as we said, is very minimum. A partnership agreement requires the legal advice and the fees involved in it, and the corporation is created only by statute. You can register and meet the statute's requirement, which could be a board members and advisors. And you need to pay filing fees, taxes, and legal. But the good part of it, they are treated as a separate entities, which is it could be very useful for you if just in case there is a liabilities more than revenue. Um, in the death of the sole proprietorship, the business gets terminated, and if there is no will, the government will take over. Death of a general partner terminate the partnership, and whatever the partner has, it could be done in two ways. One, it could be their children take over and they might not be involved in the business, so they don't know how to run the business, and they might cost you effective, efficiency of the business. So the best way, you probably get some insurance company involved in the case of death. They will, pay off the children and then buy his share for you. Now it's a two different separate thing. When it comes to the corporation, you need to put major shareholders and insurance on each one of them. When it's a partnership, you need to put each other and insurance on it. So, and how this insurance will be comes into effective by when your partner wants to be out, retired, or pass away. So when a partner wants to go out, you need to have some legal form saying that you have to approve the new partner who is taking over. So all these legal things you need to take into consideration when you're doing your entrepreneur plan. Transferability and capital requirement. A sole proprietorship may sell or transfer an asset. So he can, sell his car or sell his business. Limited partner in general, partnership can sell anytime. But as we said, the selling, most of the time you can stop it if there is no reason for it, or they're selling it to the wrong people. They might be selling it to a competition, and competition take over and kill the business for you. So this is possible. So you need to, when you have a partner, you need to look at all these negative things that might go wrong. One person in the insurance industry said once, says like, most of the people says, I'm not going to buy insurance because I'm healthy, that's the reason, is that you cannot buy insurance when you are not healthy. The only time you can buy insurance when you are healthy. So you cannot, you have to look way ahead. No insurance company will take, will sell you something if they find out you're sick or about to die. And the same thing with this business. You cannot wait until the problems, happens with your partner in order for you to react to it. So it has to be when you're building your entrepreneurship business, you need to put all the things ahead and plan for them. So, but in the case of the shareholder incorporation, they can sell anytime because it's a shareholders and they are usually, you probably have board members and the shareholders are silent shareholders, preferred shares, unpreferred shares. They're two different things. So as I said, it's a whole course that it took me 3 months probably to understand the pros and cons of different businesses. Now, the priority must take proprietorship must take out a loan or add a capital. He can borrow from the bank, or he puts money directly. In a partnership agreement, if the partners get a loan, if basically, and the agreement changes, because if I'm a partner who have 20% and I put more money, then I should get more shares in the partner agreement. If I'm taking out some of the share, then I should get some money funds from it. I will get less shares. So this is set up from the beginning. A new capital for corporation can be raised through the shareholder by selling stocks and bonds, and there is more rules and regulations for it, or by borrowing money under the name of the corporation. So the bank would not look at the owners, they look at the corporation, how the business is happening, the revenue, whether they have collaterals. Because once this corporation goes bankruptcy, the owners of the corporation, the shareholders, they're already protected. So the bank cannot go after them to collect their cash. They only can go as far as the corporation itself. As we said, a corporation is an independent entity. So you can sell stock and bonds. In other words, these are shares that you're selling to an investor. And you can generate income or borrowing money from a bank or other corporations. Once you set up all these rules and regulation, when you're doing your business plan, then it comes the step of looking after the management control and how the profit distributed. Shares, there is different type of shares. If it's a the sole proprietorship has most control over the decision. So whatever it makes, he can put it in his pocket, and then next day out of his pocket and put the money in. But in a partnership, partners have no control over the business decisions. The majority usually do. So when they do a distribution profit is according to the majority rules, who makes the decision, who's gonna, whether they're gonna distribute the profit or invest further. So there is kind of, it's not partner's decision, it's majority shareholder decision. There is also a management control daily on business incorporation. So you get a level of management, board of directors, and shareholders. And in the corporation, the management have the decision of daily how is the business is going to go. Long-term decision may be required the stockholders, but the short term is made by the management. And in the in the issue of stockholders affects the operation through their board. So the stockholders will be, could be part of the board or in contact with the board selection. So the stockholders usually do a selection, um, elections yearly or every 5 years to select the board members, and the board members will eventually affect the management, not decision, the direction, the strategies that they need to make. Now, the property receive all the profit, but also the receive of all losses. Let me give you an example. I was working for a multi organization, which is a big corporation, and I was in the management. I was looking after a country as a manager. Um, I had to report to another manager, which is he was in charge of that territories. So that wasn't, we were not seeing eye to eye, but the whole board of members, the whole organization were agreeing with the way the business that I do. My supervisor, which is the board territories manager, he wanted me to resign. The HR came back to him and said, listen, he is in a level of management. You don't have an authority to do that. The board members will ask him to resign, not you. You are only the manager of supervisor for him. As a supervisor, you cannot ask him to resign. So he suddenly got in trouble, and not me, because the management would be asked to resign by the board members and not by the level of the management itself. So priority, so this is how the corporation works. Um, I continued the way I work because the board members approved the way I was working, and away from disagreeing the territory manager. And back to this situation, so the proprietorship is a different. Receive all the profit, but also receive all the losses. So if in a sole proprietorship, if you lose it from your pocket, and if you making money, money comes into your pocket. In a partnership agreement, there is kind of an outline of profit and losses. So if it's 50-50, the loss is probably 50, they will take care of it. And if it's no previous agreement, but if it's a previous agreement, there might be somebody who owns, for example, 40% will pay 50 or 40% of the losses. So this some kind of an agreement comes in. But as we said in the corporation, it doesn't, goes to the personal income of shareholders. They lose up to the shareholders' revenues. So these are the differences between the corporation. You need to know the difference between them as an entrepreneur in order to make a decision of which kind of a business you're going to start up, whether a sole proprietorship, partnership, or a corporation. And on the other hand, you need to understand the taxes, the risk, how you mitigate the risk, the payments, all these things in order to choose the right, most fit one, which is will cost you less and maximize your revenue. So raising capital is one of the things that it helps to understand which one you're going to choose. And in the both proprietorship and partnership, the ability to raise capital depend on the success of the business and the capabilities of the entrepreneur. Whether you as an entrepreneur are able to get more investors, or how you get your money is how, whether you can sell something of your personal income or personal properties, or you can get a loan. It is your responsibility as an entrepreneur. In the case of sole proprietorship and partnership, but it's also your responsibility for success of business. And due to the personal liabilities
Excuse me,
disadvantage,
sir.
yes, sir,
Sorry to disturb, sir.
no problem.
So can you explain the first point, like the success of the business? I doesn't get that. Like, uh,
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
yeah, like in the first, the success of the business, that line.
Okay, this one,
No,
eh?
yeah. The
Yeah,
first point, the success of business, like the ability to raise capital depends upon. So how the like,
how it, okay, sure, gotcha. See, we,
sir,
we,
just
we
give an example in general life,
oh,
sir. General example, like,
wonderful, wonderful.
sorry, sir.
Okay, you see, there is, as we said, there is a three type of business. There is a sole proprietorship, there is a partnership, and there is a corporation. Now, when we said a sole proprietorship is that you open your own store, and you don't have a partner in it. Your store, if it makes money, it's your money. But if you lose money and banks, you borrowed a loan from a bank, let's say, the bank comes in and takes over your business, sell whatever in your business, and then if it's not enough, it goes to your personal things like your house, your car, and they take over your car and your house and sell your house in order to cover the debt you went through. Now, in the partnership, it
Yes, sir, got, sir.
uh, uh, in the
Thank
partnership,
you.
yeah, no problem. It's different. It's like it's the same thing, but it's not covered to your personal thing. So they come into your business, the bank takes over, and then they will look after the agreement and say there is you lost bank stick owns you own a bank $1,000, so all your business is worth of $600. There is a $400 difference, so the banks wants to get this $400 more, and then they look at uh, um, your agreement with your partner. Are you going to carry 50% of that loss, or 60%, or 100%, or 20%? According to that agreement, the bank will sue you and sue your partner, and then takes that part according to the percentage that you agreed on it. Now, in the corporation, the bank cannot take your personal housings or cars. They come to your business and takes whatever they can take. So whether it's enough or less than enough, that's as far they can. Your personal house and money, personal money, profit that you made, transferred to you, is protected. The bank cannot come and put their hands on it. So these are the three type of it. But in the corporation, they look at it as uh, a special entity that not related to you. It's built by you, by your team, whomever, one, two, or three people, but it's a special entity. So when you do a business here, you have to pay taxes. And then when you have a salary, you have to pay taxes on it. When you transfer the money as a profit to you, because it's a different entity, you're also going to have to pay a taxes on it. So this is the negative part of it. But the positive part of the corporation is it stays there. The bank cannot dig in and get your money. So you mitigate the risk up to the business. So these are the differences that you need to look at it. The other part of it, it's here, is saying you can, once you need money, you can get from the bank as a capital. If you have a corporation, you can sell bonds and shares, and you can raise different way of making money. So this is why the corporation, most of the time, they don't have a problem of uh, generating capital for expanding the business because they have lots of options, such as going to bank, and because they have collaterals, they can get money from the bank, or basically they will sell more shares to the public, and people will pay money for buying some shares. So these are the three different type where you need to put it in your business plan when you're doing an entrepreneurship. That probably you're going to start with a proprietorship. If you're starting with a sole proprietorship, then you're looking at somebody needs to invest in you, and he needs to get an interest revenue for it. But if he is you want him to be your partner, then it's a different approach to it. Thank you for your question. Now, the tax rate is versus for a various form of businesses. Now, this is where you need to do your due diligence and studies about each country, the tax system. Now, the tax system in Canada is different than the tax system in US. It's different than the world. In US is more giving, they tax individual more and the business less. In Canada, there is a tendency of taxing the business more and individual less. So this is the differences, that whether you're going to establish your business in Canada or USA, or whether you're going to establish your business in Canada and have, just export because you don't want to pay a corporate tax, or vice versa. So whenever you're thinking of establishing your business, you need to see the local tax system. And if you cannot see the local tax system, you need to talk to the people who understand their tax system well. When we established a corporation, a company in Canada, we were looking at opening a company in UK or Canada. And we looked at how much the percentage Canadian government will charge us versus how much percentage the UK will charge us. It was almost the same, but the timing of the charging, Canadian will give us a 5 years leeways before they start charging the taxes. The UK was giving us 2 years. So the choice is also affected, that choosing Canada over UK because of the timing, or because of the percentage of taxes that you can achieve. So you need to do also this study, because tax one of the reason might be causing you be less competitive. Now, as we talked about it, the limited liabilities companies, it is, from the name is known, it's limited. So when you are liable, you are limited to the company. Your personal things, your personal belongings, it's not being, if you just in case you lost, a bank cannot take over your personal stuff. It's because it's a limited liabilities that you have. Once the profit is passed to the owner from the company, the profit will becomes an income for that person and should be taxed. But the good part of it, once it's gone, it's in a safe side. I know a person who used to have around 65 trucks, delivery trucks, and he wanted to change the business, but he didn't want to, probably lose whatever he worked for in halfway. So what he did, he transferred the profit from his limited liability to his personal income. And then he filed a bankruptcy. So when he filed a bankruptcy, all the debtors, banks or whatever investors, they were able to take money from the company, took some over the money, but they couldn't go to his personal money because it's belonged to him. So he took that money and opened another business which is he liked it most, and now he's one of the his company rated number 5 in BC as an entrepreneur business, because he wanted to get into software instead of trucking. So and this is, you need to study what's your exit plan if you are trying to open in a business, and these are options that you have. You can work with them. So the characteristic of limited liability company, or LLC, a partnership, a corporation hybrid, is the corporation have the shareholders, partnership have the partners, and the limited liability company has the members. So no shares are issued. Each member owns an interest of the business. Number of shares. So the number of shares, the more you have shares, the more you owns that part of this business. Now, the shares could be priorities, or first level or second level, something like that. But as far as liability, does not extend beyond the members' capital contribution. So if I'm putting, sorry, $1,000 in this company, my liability is only that 1,000. So in my personal bank account, if there's 10,000, bank cannot take those 10,000. They just take that $1,000, and that's the corporation thing. Now, members may transfer their shares, their interest, to anonymous written consent of remain. When you get the shares, you can sell them, and this is what's happening in the stock market, that you can sell your shares to somebody else, higher price or lower price. The company that they don't care who owns these shares anymore, because they have, and once they announce this, they can pay, the profit, the dividends to them. Usually IRS or income tax, CRA here, automatically tax the LLC as a partnership, but it is different in Canada than in US. You need to look at these different legals and ask an accountant, certified accountant, chartered accountant, to help you in this matter, or look at somebody who has same business. How is he running this business, in order for you to select the best things for you. This usually also the years, the standard terms of limited liability is a 30 years, but the dissolution is likely. It's basically when one member dies, or the business goes through bankruptcy, or all the members needs to just says, okay, this partnership is over, or this corporation is over. Like what you see, some companies is deciding to go, to dissolve the business. They're not going bankruptcy, they're just losing in the business, so they want to stop it. So you need to look at the law governing the LLC, different in every country. Very important for you to dig on this information. As we said in the early, sole proprietorship or two people partnership, it's the easiest way to start a business, because it's less probably liable, more liability there, more dangerous that they might that the debtors comes into your businesses, but it's easier, less legals in it, less taxes also. Now, designing, and probably we will try to, finish on time. The designing of the initial organization will be simple, as entrepreneur may perform all the functions. See, when you do a business as an entrepreneur, you have a tendency of saying, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, but this is not the right way, because your business could be so big, grow so big, and you don't have enough time to take care of all the functions there. So you need to delegate some businesses. A common problem and the significant reason for failure is when the entrepreneur is unwilling to give up the responsibilities. He just want to hold to all the responsibility and he cannot do it all. And I'll include other. So if so, the entrepreneur may be difficult of transiting from a startup to a growing business that maintains a success over time. So if your business is a small, you might be able to do the income, the accounting, you might be able to do the stocking, you might be able to do operation, but as it grows, you need to delegate these work. So otherwise you might have a lot, you lose your business, because this is one of the reasons entrepreneurs lose their business. At, as the work increases, the organizational structure is expanded. And there where you need to find a manager for operation, manager for supply, and manager for accounting, all these things. Effective, you start effective interviewing and hiring must be in a place, and you still, you put into calculation how much it costs to do these employees, to have these people on the board. Um, all design decision involve personal reflect and formal structure. So you need to put the formal structure, whether you have a horizontal or a vertical organization, who reports to what, who is in charge of what's breakdown of BPM. An organization also an informal structure, organizational culture, you need to understand people that you're working with. As a start of a business, you build your structures, you build the business culture from the beginning. So anybody who's joining you should will join the way your culture and the successful culture that you have in the business that you started. The organization must identify the major activities required to operate effectively. So when you do your entrepreneurial plan, is the fact that you need to look on all aspects of work and see what really most way of effective, whether you need a person in charge of only supply chain management, or you need a person who looks at the accounting and the supply. It depends how you look at it, or you need two people separated, reported to one person. So these things that it all comes in with your expectation of how big is the business that you're planning to do. Now, last thing is the members' expectation in design. The design of the organization is formal and explicit indication of what each expected of each member. So there is expectation when people comes into a business, and if they're not meeting their expectation, you will see a hard, burning feelings. People don't like to show up. People don't support you, and suddenly these things falls on breakdown. So you need to want to make sure you're meeting all their expectation right. The expectation are grouped into 5 areas. Organizational structure. You need to look at the organization chart. They know whether they can make a decision, which field they can make a decision if they're your partner. Planning, measurement, evaluation schemes, the goal and the objective of venture, the rewards with the bonus, the promotion, the praises that they're looking at, as selection criteria guideline for hiring each person. When you need a board advisor, what kind of people you need to interview them to make sure these people can really chip in. If you just like you're hiring an employee, also the same thing. What kind of a training you need to put in, formal education, skill training, all these things you need to get as a startup. Then in this business plan, as we said, it adjusts as a 3 or 6 months later. So it's keep adjusting. Now, the last thing, probably you need to change the role and evolving organization. As I said, you might want to be, always looking at how you're gonna do adjusting in this plan. The building building the management team and the culture, as we said, you need to look at the execute the plan, identify fundamental changes in the business as they occur, and adjust the plan based on the change that maintain the profitability. So first, the entrepreneur must define the skills, the ability they need to meet the goals for the business plan. You cannot really go and do the business without really just come in and says, okay, let's open a business, and suddenly you have it grows so quickly you cannot just decide saying, okay, this is how I'm going to fix a problem later on. As we said, when you're recruiting, you're using the same strategy. You need to find the people with the skills or people who are willing to get the skills. When you are hiring board members, advisors, you do the same thing and interview for them. Now, just to say, probably this is the last part of it, the role of board of directors, putting the rules, break down the organization, fix any conflicts, and it goes on. So this is where we're not going to talk about Sarbanes-Oxley. There is the same similar Sarbanes-Oxley Act in Canada. It's called Sarbanes. It comes in because of the blow whistling. It's not an important thing. It's just how to protect the shareholders from board members who's really planning to steal the company, or the management who's really taking the shareholders' money and just ignoring them. So these are the things that we looked at it, and feel free to leave. I will post these for you and I'll send them this information. If you have any question, please let me know. Otherwise, feel free to leave.